Okay. We are. Yep, we're live. All right, bet. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Prodigy.
My name is Noir Little Bomber.
Yeah, there we go. See, I'm letting you introduce yourself in the intro now. And welcome to the Datascape, everyone. This is the first live episode that we have done in a
In
very
a
long
minute.
time. I can't even put a date to it. Like I actually don't know when the last time we did a live episode was. Like I feel like it must have been with some gaming event or something like that. We've done streams together. We've like
Was it?
talked on
Was it?
streams.
I don't think it was Tokyo Game Show. I think it
Nah,
at Summer Games Fest.
possibly, but it was definitely way earlier in the year, like the earlier half of the year. But
Yeah.
regardless, this is a live episode to wrap up our villains month for the Datascape. For those that have been following the podcast over the past couple of weeks, we have been doing a villains series. Even though I uploaded a lot of them this week, to be honest with you, I did kind of. I'm sorry, I shoved a lot of them to the end of this week, but we start off with Master Xehanort. We talked about Organization 13, and we talked about today the Four Tellers, and now we are talking about Darkness. The darknesses of the franchise. In Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, for those of you who did not follow the mobile game stories, the
What are you
13
doing?
true darknesses, debatably the real villains of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, the whole goal, all of this, the original form of darkness. These guys are what the Masters plan. The Book of Prophecies, everything is to defeat them. All of it is to defeat these guys right here. The Master playing a chess game with these guys, or just these things, really. There's a lot to them. There's a lot of mystery, and there's a lot to kind of unpack here. But also not like we don't know a lot about them, but as a concept, there's a lot to unpack because it's like, why do you think they went this route with the story? Like, your true villain of Kingdom Hearts is almost poetic in a sense. Darkness. It's kind of
Honestly,
funny.
that's a really good question, but like it it seems both like random and cliche if you ask me to have like 13 original darknesses. But I do think like they kind of hint and foreshadow at this like a long time ago, back in 2012 with Dream Drop Distance when they because they
Really?
keep emphasizing they kept emphasizing that when the Keyblade shattered, there were seven lights and 13 darknesses, right?
Right.
But then they never specified what became of those darknesses. And like they always seem to hint along with that like darkness essentially like keyblades has a mind of its own. And which I guess knowing about the darknesses, that is very true.
Yeah.
um but obviously, first bit of darkness inclusion in the overall story of Kingdom Hearts is all the way back in Kingdom Hearts 2, but obviously we had no idea of knowing.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Like, darkness.
Maleficent coming back in Kingdom Hearts 2. That was thanks to darkness.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
true.
more like in a technical sense, but um,
Well, what's
yeah.
interesting about these guys, I feel like what's really fascinating about them is that this is darkness without a form. So all forms of darkness that we're able to defeat, that we're able to capture with our Keyblade, is darkness with a form, whether it be in the form of a Heartless, whether it be in the form of a Heartless as a person. Um, like darkness with a form is beatable. Darkness with a form is something that you can hit, but formless darkness, it's like trying to touch like air. Like I'm technically touching it like all the time, but I'm also not. You know what I mean? It's like that's what these
It's like
things.
trying to kill water.
Yeah, like that's what these darknesses are. And the plan the master has is they do want a form, and the reason they want a form, as talked about in Union Cross, is that's the only way they can do real damage. So it's kind of like a neutral balance thing, where like what they form, darkness can do real damage and can do a lot of harm in the form of the Heartless and the form of things like Vanitas. Um, but without said form, they can only do so much. Like maybe rough up a couple of like Kilo looters, maybe mess with some things in the world, but I don't think they can do anything like super cataclysmic with just them. At least from what we're understanding, which is a lot to understand. I'm sure they're going to refine and they're going to touch up on this lore and explain it even more as we go throughout like the series. I'm really interested in how this concept is going to play, like being introduced to the wider Kingdom Hearts audience that like mostly plays the console games, because the mobile game is, as we talked about before, mostly focuses on like the hardcore Kingdom Hearts audience. That's the people that mainly consume the story for that. So I wonder how it's gonna like be perceived when the master all of a sudden just brings up, yeah, I'm trying to defeat darkness, these true beings of darkness, darkness with no form. They're a hive mind. Like it is interesting. Like I thought they played it up very interesting in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, but I really do wonder how it's gonna come off in like these games and higher fidelity games.
Also, there's something else I thought about, and it's a very scary concept that I wonder if they're going to bring back. And I need to brush up on this with our friend who is a Kingdom Hearts encyclopedia man, but like what was his name? Balder. During the events of Dark Road, his negative emotions manifested so strong it created a darkness.
Is that what happened? I thought one of the darknesses were just with him.
We should probably ask him that. Um, just because if it's if it's one way, if it's like one of the original darknesses, then it's like okay, well then where did he go following Baldur's defeat? Because we know that darkness isn't dead. Um, but if it's the other possibility of his negative emotions were so strong that they developed a darkness being, that's a very scary thing to think about moving forward.
Yeah, and Balder was a completely different character when taken over by darkness, and Xehanort just straight up like, you know, pulled the plug, like not dealing with that, which was kind of crazy. As we sort of kind of referenced in our first episode of the series, like I remember Master Odin throughout Dark Road kind of foreshadowing it, like darkness in its truest form is coming. Darkness, unlike anything you've ever really seen before, is like it's kind of crazy. Because I do think like the how do I word this, but there's an aura to them. I'm used to cringe and alpha words. There's an aura to like the darknesses that I definitely liked a lot in Union Cross. Like it's like, dang, we already defeated the organization. We defeated Xehanort. We defeated some of these other characters, but like it goes like even deeper than that. It goes like to like the root of like all evil, like this sort of darkness that like we can't even really comprehend yet. In a very similar way to how we can't truly comprehend who the Master of Masters is. But he has more of a personality. He has more of a character. He has more of a cadence to how he talks and like what's going on. And there's people who speculate that the Master is maybe one of the true forms of light, and maybe that origin story the Master was talking about being a Kilo looter and this and that. Maybe the people he grew up around were those true forms of light, and that brings up the question: are we going to have an alternative to this? 'Cause I feel like
That's what
Nomura's
I was
thinking
thinking
about
about.
that. Like we always talk about balance in Kingdom Hearts. We always talk about light and darkness and like how they're two halves, they're two sides of the same coin. And if that's true, then if there's 13 true forms of darkness, then there must be a powerful equivalent on the light side as well. And if so, where are they? And I'm willing to bet that the light side of it, these are probably characters that do have true forms, and maybe Ventus is just a teaser for that because they did mention how Ventus is a like true, like he's a pure heart, like born that way too. So like no darkness in him. So I wonder, like, is that, does that maybe go deeper into the lore about why Ventus and Venus's darkness was even so powerful to create a Keyblade in the first place? I feel like that wouldn't happen. I mean, that doesn't happen in the series from just regular interactions between light and darkness. But with Venus and Ventus, even though it was incomplete, it still created like a part of that Keyblade, like an incomplete one. So I don't know. Like I think darkness, they haven't found a form to latch onto yet, but I think the light has, and
Yeah, I
that
think
might be
I
what the
think
seven crowns are.
Vanitas.
Honestly, right?
I think Vanitas is the only person or the only one of the darknesses to actually develop his own physical form, like separate from everyone else. Obviously, he goes more back into just being darkness when he's merged with Ventus, as kind of what we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3. Which, can I say, by the way, um, I was baffled when I saw Darkness talking to Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3.
We didn't know of it as darkness at the time, though. But
Right, we didn't know it was dark. So like when someone was talking to Sora when he was connecting with Ventus's heart, and Sora's like, "Who are you?" and he says, "Darkness." Right, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the heck?"
I see the way I initially interpreted that cutscene, because I was a little bit against the Venus being darkness thing in Eden Cross back then, and I'm still like, it's more so because of the interpretation of it back then. Back then, the reason I was against it was because I didn't think Venus was darkness, because the way people painted the picture theory wise was they were making it sound like Vanitas is like the villain of the Kingdom Hearts series. I'm like, no, I don't know. That's not what it is. But he is part of the darknesses. He's part of the greater whole, the greater hive mind that is the darknesses, which I'm okay with. That's like a half measure that I'm cool with. Anyhow, when I
Also, I feel like we should establish really quick um, the location of all of the 13 Darknesses as it is right now, post Melody and Memory.
yeah, go ahead.
So, because there are 13 in total. According to the Master, seven of the most powerful ones are locked away to later be placed in the foretellers as a sacrifice. Um, four of them are trapped in Data Daybreak Town, or I should say, not Data Daybreak Town. They're like the path in between Game Central Station and Data Daybreak Town. Like they're locked in there right now. They have no way out. So
Yeah,
that brings it.
and that's
So that
thanks to
brings
our
it.
player character. Let's go. We did it, guys.
So that brings the total number up to 11. And then for number 12, that is Vanitas. And then number 13, that is actually a darkness. We have no idea where its
And
location
I
is.
think
The
that's the
the
one
last
that was in
confirmed.
Baldur. I feel like that's what it was, because that was before Dark Road came out. I feel like that one that was unaccounted for has to be the one that like we saw in Dark Road. It must have
And
been.
even then, we still don't know where it is because last place I can confirm that like we see it is it was about to face off against Lushu in Daybreak Town, but then we never saw the conclusion of that fight, and Lushu seemed to be okay afterwards. I don't think he's being possessed by a darkness. I mean, it's possible, because we don't really see what happens to that darkness or like what happens during their fight, but that is the current positions of all of the 13 darknesses right now.
So, do you think that the seven crowns are like? Do you think that's just their term for the light? Because the master in a cutscene, like I think it was a cutscene with darkness, mentioned the
Darkness said
seven
the seven
crowns.
crowns. Yeah, in that cutscene, Darkness mentioned the seven crowns. Have no idea what the seven crowns are. It could be literally anything. It could just be like the seven chosen like guardians of light, or like the seven
I feel like it's just a new verbiage for the Guardians,
like
really. But yeah.
basically a new verbiage for the guardians of light, right? Who knows, right? It's really tough to say. It's too early to try and make a call about that.
And Sora is king. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Feel like what's going to put the foretellers at odds with the new Guardians is their slight connection to darkness, Riku, Ventus, and Terra.
I can definitely see the foretellers having a problem with that, just because they were basically raised and groomed by such a pro-light, anti-darkness advocate, that the idea of a Keyblade wielder, let alone someone, in Riku's case, someone who holds the title of Keyblade Master, using darkness so freely, right? They might see that as a bit problematic, but I feel like that would be a chance for Riku to try and teach them. He's like, well, no, you can't completely shut darkness out of your heart. We don't have the hearts for that. We're not built like that. But if we learn to not let it control us and we channel it properly, there's no way the darkness can ever get a hold of us.
Yeah. And I. So, do you think we're going to start off with the foretellers already having that darkness corrupt them? Because the master's trying to bait darkness, because the darkness needs strong enough hearts to probably maintain its form. I'm guessing they didn't say this 1-to-1 in Union Cross, but I think that's a pretty educated assumption. I want to say, based on what the master was saying, the darknesses probably can't just harbor a weaker heart, a heart that like will obviously lose to it, um, or a heart that will lose to it super easily, because then the probably that form won't have as much like value. Like you need a strong form to do powerful things. The powerful form do powerful things. The
Well,
foretellers
what
would ideally be that, and that's why the master is training them to be strong keyloaders so they can harbor the darkness without losing.
what I think happens when a darkness being takes over someone with a weaker heart is that a darkness just absolutely controls them through and through, and then they end up becoming like a major issue, because then at that point the person that they are controlling is no longer in control. They have lost all autonomy of their own body. Look at Ventus, right? I
Yeah.
think he's a perfect example of what happens when someone with a weaker heart gets possessed by darkness. He was basically darkness's slave.
He was. It's kind of crazy because like, we were predicting for weeks who killed Strelitzia, and you could say that was kind of like the true introduction to darkness as we know them right now. Like that was our first, like, dude, the Strelitzia murder mysteries was one of the funnest times to be a Kingdom Hearts fan, just period. And that revealed that it was Ventus, but Ventus, like, being controlled by darkness was absolutely insane. And because on top of that, darkness was able to completely mimic like Ava. Like, isn't that crazy? Like,
That is scary to think
that
about.
that is super scary to think about. Now I don't know if we were just trying to, that was because it probably plays a little weird, like animating in like that way. So it might have been like a thing where it was like just only from Ventus's perspective it was Ava, but like the fact that he was even able, that Darkness was even able to do something like that is just crazy. Like not only does it take over like your mind, it can change your vision. It can do all this stuff. Like that is absolutely like crazy. Like that's almost, I don't know. Like you lose this complete control over yourself. It's pretty similar what like Xehanort did to Terra, but I feel like that darkness was able to do all those things without even having to give up. Like, I mean, doesn't have a form, but like without, it was still able to be darkness. Like it was able to like dip in and out of Ventus just whenever. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just wild.
obviously, like I believe that if darkness were to possess someone with a stronger heart, like the foretellers, they wouldn't have complete control, and that they basically be trapping themselves in the perfect like chopping block for a third party to come and like strike them down. Really quick though, I know this is getting a little bit off topic. I do want to address Gabriel's question because he did ask if he can ask this in chat, and I told him he could. So he was asking about time travel, Kingdom Hearts 2 and Pete and all that stuff, and then Drop Distance and KH3. Just I know this is really off topic, so I'll be really quick. So Pete in Kingdom Hearts 2. Timeless River is basically a pocketed version of time travel. It's only affecting the overall world of Disney Castle. So that's why anything that happened within Timeless River only affected Disney Castle. So that was the deal with that time travel. So that and then for Dream Drop Distance, they say you can't change things that are destined to happen. And then obviously Sora changed how things happen. That's because he created a tear in the fabric of time and committed basically a nature taboo, and that's why he got banished from his world, because he basically used something the incorrect way and manipulated the world into going about things the way it should not have gone, right? So that's why they had like massive consequences. But if you look at the Remind scenario, when Sora initially tried to like rush Xemnas when Roxas came back, which obviously that seems like it's messing with the overall like, oh, Xemnas goes behind Kyrie to kidnap her. In the end, overall, that still happened. So like that's an example of like you can try to change it, but the universe will fix itself. Right, that was just really quick. Just now we can get back on topic to the.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. We are live for people watching the VOD. We are indeed live. So shoot, feel free to ask your questions. Come in. If we're not focusing on chat like a lot, what you just saw there, I'm trying to actually put chat on screen because I think that would probably be cool just to have people for the VOD to look back at. But yeah, we are live, and I want to do more live episodes of the Datascape like this because we do a lot of just chatting streams already, and the Datascape has been a very fun podcast that I've been doing for the past year and some change now. A little over that because I first started doing it on my own, but I realized like, hey, I want a co-host. I want someone to bounce off of. I want someone to bounce ideas off of. And there's very few people I know, even among Kingdom Hearts YouTubers, by the way, there's very few people I know who can unapologetically yap about Kingdom Hearts as long as I can, aside from Noir. And that's why Noir's here. Noir's also just he fits all the checks all the boxes. Close friend.
I'm a yapper.
Loves Kingdom Hearts and can yap my ears off about theories. So yeah.
But let's see. So, Gabriel also asked, like, he didn't like the idea of darkness being a sentient force because it basically downplays Disney villains' motivation. Aren't they just puppets? No, they're not. Because the Disney villains and other villains, their motivations and like their whole darkness, like using darkness, it wasn't because of the darkness beings. It had nothing to do with them. Because even though darkness is essentially a character, it's also a fundamental part of the Kingdom Hearts universe as a force of nature. So
yes. So I think they introduced these villains partially because they're setting up the ending of the series. They set this up so it's like, okay, we have like when these guys are defeated, the series has to end. But I don't even know if the story ends with them being defeated because like that part of that sounds like a weird message. Like, oh, hey, we eradicated all the evil from this world. All right, we're gonna end the series. Happy ending. Like, okay, that sounds like a very straightforward path to go. But the story has always told us that darkness and light can't coexist without each other. So like, how would that even work? Like, I feel like we're going to learn.
I think it's best to look at what is darkness's overall goal.
Yes.
And
stopping that.
And does it conflict? Does it truly conflict with the peace that the Guardians want? Right. So like, darkness wants a physical being.
Right.
Fine. We do have the replica program because we do now have Evan back. Um, would it be possible that we just give them bodies and they not cause problems for us? Because if that can happen, everyone can coexist.
Right. Well, I'm thinking to myself that one of the end goals with like this darkness form to a degree, or maybe not the end goal, but the route into how we get there to them being villains and them being convincing bad guys, right? Is we're probably similar to what Union Cross built up, which is why I'm so excited for KH4's story and why this wait is torture. But I think we're going to continue a lot of what Union Cross did, Dark Road did, what Missing Link was originally going to do, and that is add more world building to the series. Kingdom Hearts, for as much of a mountain it is for the story or lore to climb, to get into sometimes. Not saying it's confusing, but saying that the story it's a lot of story. It's 13 games worth of stories or more than that. There's so many experiences in Kingdom Hearts. The series does not have a ton of world building. Like its world building is more it's more clear cut. You know, like how do I explain it? We have the realm of darkness, we have the realm of light, we have the realm in between, we have the realm of sleep, and while we can dive super deep into those things, you have the Disney worlds, like the actual lore of the world itself, like the past, wasn't delved into much until like the past 10 years, past decade with the Key Saga. And we saw like snippets of it in Birth by Sleep, but like the Key Saga really put into picture like, okay, this is the origin of like basically Keyblade Wooters, like what the Keyblade world is like today, and we learned things about Scala. We're going to get into this whole Keyblade society with Missing Link. We saw a little bit of the ending of that Keyblade society in Dark Road. The keyloaders in Union Cross were going on missions like it was a 9 to 5. Like that, this wasn't just Sora saving the world, being like a goofy, fun kid going to Disney Worlds. These were like Union leaders basically clocking in. Like, okay, let's grind for Lux, defeat darkness, blah blah blah, part of the Union, and go back to Daybreak Town and just be safe, have fun, right? I think KH4, the Lost Master Saga, is going to do a lot more of that. And we're going to build on this world. And through building on this world, we'll learn more about the darknesses and their place in all of it. Because obviously, they're not going to introduce the darknesses or reintroduce the darknesses as just, okay, hey, these are the true forms of darkness that like, the strongest form. Like, I don't think that sells enough. It sells enough for hardcore fans because we already love the series and the foundation of it, but I don't think it sells enough for like just that average fan who's looking for not just entities but characters. Because these darknesses need character, and I think they find that character, they find that intimidation, that like in the lore of it. So I think we're going to go crazier into the world building of Kingdom Hearts very soon, like even more than we already have, and that's exciting.
Um, can we also talk about like the boss fight against Darkness in Union Cross?
It was pretty hype, I must admit. Because what theme played during that boss fight again, Union Cross? Because I remember it was something crazy.
I
Like
believe it was Desktop, wasn't it?
I think
Oh,
it
hold
was.
on.
Yeah, it was. It was Destati. They started playing Destati during that boss. Like they locked in for the ending. Like they locked in for the finale, for like the final like few story updates for Union Cross, dude. Like
You had all the Union leaders like doing a group attack with you. Like that was goaded.
yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Like seeing the Union leaders fight like there, and to even mention how the final boss of Union Cross was scored an Ephemer. Like, isn't that crazy? Isn't that absolutely insane? Our best friends throughout the whole story were the final bosses. That's
that
poetic.
was pretty
That's
that was
poetic to
pretty
me.
heartbreaking. Not gonna lie.
It's poetic to me. It's actually poetic. Like it's crazy, and it's also awesome story wise. How the final three characters who like stayed in that data world were the who stayed behind, while like Lorium and them like they didn't have to deal with all the darkness stuff. They just went to their destinations. Were Ephemer, Scold, the player, the three characters that basically like this whole Key Saga formed around from the very beginning, even back in the browser version. Like, I don't know. Union Cross's writing, Union Cross's like storytelling was so good for a freaking Flash game, bro. And this is why we need this story desperately remastered. That's why it is heartbreaking that Missing Link got canceled, but it's also why it's a potential blessing in disguise. And it sucks to say that now if you have no faith, if you're a doomer. I trust me, I can be a doomer sometimes, but I'm really not. I'm not truly a doomer. I'm more optimistic than like probably a lot of people because even though I say my feelings, I can be negative sometimes. I'm here. I will forever be here. Like I'm not giving up. I believe there will be a day Missing Link gets remastered, that story gets retold. I really, really hope it does. But regardless, going on tangents here. This is why these stories need to be retold. They have to be because not just retold, but just they need to be. They need that love and appreciation. Cause it's so
They do
freaking
because
good.
honestly, like even though I do love the mainline entries for Kingdom Hearts games, and I do love games like Birth by Sleep, um, some of the better stories come from the mobile games.
100%. 100%. By the way, a question I wanted to ask: what do you think is the Master's safety plan? Because the Master said Lucio was getting mad when the Master explained the true plan to defeat the darknesses. The seven strongest darknesses are going to be harbored inside the foretellers, and the foretellers would then be defeated. Because the Master said darkness can only be defeated with a form, and the foretellers would be that form. So the foretellers would theoretically have to be defeated, you know? They'd have to be being they basically are going to have to be possessed and then tortured and then yeah, they're going to have to be possessed and then beating the crap out of by probably Sora, probably us, probably the Guardians, and yeah, like that's what's going to happen, right? So like
More than likely.
how so like
Um,
what's the safety plan he has in place to like save everyone? Like how does that make sense? Because how can he not let the foretellers get defeated, but also defeat darkness at the same time? Because based off the rules they laid out, that doesn't sound completely possible, right?
I mean, not really, because even if you look at, say, like Vanitas and Ventus, Vanitas explained that even if you defeat him, once he already has his own physical form, he'll just go back into Ventus. So there's no real getting rid of him.
I don't. I'm unsure, Meta Warrior, if or Chance on Twitch. I don't know if the Master wants to trap Sora, because one thing that strikes me with this is we mentioned this in the last episode about the foretellers, and it still strikes me as bizarre. Why the Lost Masters don't necessarily seem to be evil people, especially the way Key Backcover portrayed them. They're willing to do hard things for the sake of the light, but it doesn't make them necessarily evil. But that might be enough to make them our antagonists. But like, what reason, what motive do they really have to go against someone like Sora or Riku or Roxas or Axel? Like how do you see these guys going about their daily lives and then being like, okay, let me mess this up just because the Master said so? I mean, I guess that probably will be good enough for them. But like, what's going to make these characters antagonists is my biggest question, because they are, Nomura said they're the antagonists of the next saga, the Lost Masters. Maybe they're not really antagonists. Maybe they're just like, maybe we will have like altercations with them, but maybe it's going to be more so like in a passive way. Like we're going to fight them, we're going to have disagreements, but maybe we're both trying to defeat darkness, but disagree on how to do it. Because the foretellers and the master probably are going to have this sacrificial mentality of like, we need to sacrifice, we need to take risk, we need to make the hard decisions. And Sora, Riku, Aqua are going to be like, nah, I want to save my friends, or everyone. They want the full 100% happy ending. And maybe the antagonist part is that they disagree on how to fight darkness. I don't know. Well, I don't know if that sounds interesting to you.
It does. It does. Because then because then the issue moving forward isn't whether or not can we defeat them, it's how do we want to defeat them.
Yeah.
Right. And then instead of creating like just a regular dilemma, you create an ethical one.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I thought about how they might bring it together. So we mentioned the safety plan with the master, right? So what if it's not, this isn't some big secret? Like the master told Lucio, but what if they do know this? Like what if the story Lucio says is what he tells them? Which they're probably coming to terms with. But the foretellers seem, as much as they probably don't want to sacrifice themselves, but they trust the master. So they might actually be it might be hard, but they might be willing to sacrifice themselves for the light, right? That might be what the picture's painted as. And maybe they're going around Kingdom Hearts 3, like, basically being like, oh, this sounds dark, but I guess maybe they're walking around KH3 and one of the characters, whether it's Mickey or Riku or Aqua or Roxas or Sora eventually, they find out that the plan here is for them to lose. They're supposed to be defeated. They're supposed to like basically end themselves type stuff, right? And the Guardians are all just basically trying to save them. Like they're trying to save the foretellers from themselves, from like listening to the master, following this plan, and like maybe the master's safety plan is actually the Guardians finding another way. I don't know.
Well, yeah, like I said,
that
like
sounds really round. That sounds super complicated and roundabout.
no, but that goes back to something I mentioned earlier. It's like, okay, well, whatever darkness truly wants, like whatever it is that they want, does it truly conflict with the peace that the Guardians want? Because if it doesn't, then you can find a peaceful solution.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, it feels bad. It sucks. I hate to say this, chat. It feels bad being excited for the story sometimes, because I'm like, man, why am?
Because we're not getting anything.
It's taking so long. What's going on? We're past the threshold of like. I mean, I can always be patient. I'm forced to be patient. We're past the threshold of like reasonable patience, in my opinion. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
And I know they're working hard. I know they're working hard on this game, man. I know they are. And I love you. I love all of you working on the game. Like, no hate towards the devs. I know, just like how I can't do anything, I know y'all can't do anything about how long it's taking. But man, does it suck. And I'm going to express that it does suck. It sucks. It sucks.
Also, I think I speak for me and John when I say, even if they don't remaster or retell the story of Union Cross and Kingdom Hearts Key, you are doing yourself a disservice if you want to continue with the Kingdom Hearts story and you're just going to skip all those stories within Key, Backcover, Union Cross, Dark Road. You are doing a disservice to yourself.
You're even though I understand why someone would skip the mobile games, because they are a significant downgrade in visual gameplay quality compared to every other entry in the franchise, pretty much. However, you are missing out. You're 100% missing out. So if you can endure it, do it.
Shoot. What else should we talk about when it comes to darkness?
I mean,
Oh, wait. Uh, Darkness in Cage 4, right? Is there already a darkness in Cage, like in Quadratum?
Maybe, cause there must be, because this is a world without light and darkness. So apparently, this is an afterlife world. So this world's in limbo. Like it's like neither. Like I don't even want to. I don't want to say it's equal ground. It's just different ground. It's a completely different reality. This is the afterlife. This is something that doesn't like. It's not. It's not anything, right? But darkness is creeped into here. So how? Like, it must have creeped into here some way, somehow, right?
I mean, one way I suggested was after Sora defeated Xehanort, or while he was defeating Xehanort, Darkness might have leaped from Xehanort's body to Sora's. So
Really?
by latching onto him, uh,
That's interesting.
Darkness would be able to get to Quadratum, and like the main thing that really set that off for me, and like sparked that idea, was the fact that they had to have put Sora going into rage form and using all that darkness against Xehanort for a reason. Like they must have put that in for a reason, right? There has to be like a lore reason as to why Sora did that, because it seems random to, no matter what, always force uh Xehanort to take Sora's light and make him use only darkness, right? Maybe it was him using that darkness, that the darkness latching onto Xehanort was like, huh, he's actually pretty good at using darkness. He just doesn't use it. I'll latch onto that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. Andy mentioned that Lucio and Demix still have a piece of Xehanort's heart. They do. I have a feeling they're going to just like return their forms. Doesn't in the secret reports, didn't they say they basically cast aside those forms, like the Secret of Darkness forms, like the people who betrayed after the fact?
Yeah.
So I think like I think when we get to Cage 4 and we see those characters again, it's gonna there's gonna be their normal selves again. No Xehanort, but I don't know. It's very it's a fascinating topic though. Darkness. Um, I hate to do a short stream chat, but I honestly, I mean, I feel like that's everything to talk about. I mean, these villains are very vague, but they're it's very interesting because they are technically they are technically like the most powerful villains we'll ever see in Kingdom Hearts, more than likely.
Yeah, with all his forms and abilities, Sora can't kill darkness. Not as they are now.
Not as they are now, and how we get there is going to be one of the most fascinating things ever. But uh, shoot, thank you guys a lot for coming to the stream. I definitely want to do more live Datascape episodes. Chat, do you guys want to see more live Datascape episodes? Are y'all down for that? Y'all vibe with that? We'll still do the just chatting streams though, of course. Noir, by the way, you guys need to give thanks to Noir because Noir has definitely been one of the main people pushing to do more live episodes. Though it's been difficult. So we shove a lot of our recordings at like later in the night and whatnot. So it's a little more difficult to do lives because we both work. Um, so yeah, we're gonna try to force these in more. We can because we can definitely put in like a couple a month, like a couple live episodes. But we're gonna try to see if we can do at least one live Datascape episode every month. Uh, Now we actually do live in the same time zone. Our schedules are just very like weird for stuff for like live stuff.
Yeah.
But we can make the time to do it. We can make the time to do it. Um, Thank you guys a lot though for coming out to today's Datascape episode. It's been a lot of fun doing this Villains Month. Um, we have a theme we're going to be discussing for the next month. I hope that I kind of like these styles of episodes where like we have like one sort of general topic with like a bunch of like topics compounded in it, that we can just talk about, because it feels like a more, it almost feels like a seasonal like approach, like every episode kind of leading into the next. I like that vibe a lot. But you're definitely going to still get the random yaps, the random where's Cage 4 doom and gloom episodes as well, that you guys like to listen to. But I'm yapping. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Prodigy,
My name is Arlo Bomber.
and remember to be nice, be safe, and take care, everyone. You all have a good night.